Word.
What it do, what it do, what's up, what's good?
What's up?
Good morning, good evening, good night, wherever I find you out in the world. God is good. Blessings upon blessings. So I'm out here with my mini-me. We taking a walk. So I wanted to get on here and just kind of touch base because it's been a minute since I've been on here. Honestly, oh, what happened?
I know.
How did that even happen?
Ooh, it's still fresh.
It even happened.
Ooh, it's still fresh.
But yeah, here's taking a walk. Just listen to that. You know, beautiful. You got the prettiest hair. When
Stay tuned for the 28th to the 31st. She will be going live. And the 28th to the 31st, she will be going live. And
I will be camping in our annual. Mainly because it's been a minute since I've been out here. I'm getting invites tonight since I've been on here, and I wanted to check in with everybody and kind of update everybody on my situation. So this is my last couple weeks in my house and in this neighborhood. So I'm really kind of sad about that. But, I'm holding myself accountable, and I'm looking forward to a new chapter in our life, and we're excited about getting our new place. We're definitely going to miss our neighborhood because, he's been here for 8 years, so most of his life. So I'm going to talk to you guys while we walk back to the house. Aiden, is there anything you want to say, baby? No? Okay. Well, so we take walks. It's a quiet neighborhood. We take walks. It's a quiet neighborhood, as you can see. Just about, my next. I'm going to be doing as an ordained minister in the end of August, in the end of this month. So I'm really excited about the end of August, in the end of this month. So I'm really excited about that on the 29th. My first wedding, my very first wedding as an ordained minister. I'm stoked, you guys. I'm just zealous, to say the least, for lack of words. But not only because it goes to me, because when I get to see, which I have now. I've been doing last year experience, and I'm also wedding, and I'm so minister, and you Google minister, my name and my profile will pop up in Indianapolis, Indiana. So yeah, I'm really excited about what God's doing in my life, and even though I'm really excited about what God's doing in my life, and even though just there's been so many changes in my life in the last couple years, but it's great because I'm watching God really do things in my life that they're this age, and I thought this and this and this was going to happen, but maybe sometimes you're being positioned and prepared to be exalted and to have that role, and I never would have been able. I wouldn't have had the time, I wouldn't have the patience, I wouldn't have the wisdom, I wouldn't have the experience, I wouldn't have the knowledge, I wouldn't have had the appreciation or the respect, the admiration that required for the position that I'm at, to even respect the amount of responsibility that is placed on me, because with great power comes great responsibility. And sometimes if you don't appreciate that, you don't understand the weight of it. I don't know how I could even explain that, but the weight that comes with it, it's heavy. And if you don't have the right appreciation for it, you just drop it like it's nothing. or handle it like it's nothing. And if I had been given it years ago, I would have handled it like it was nothing. And so understanding that now, being older and being wiser and having more experience, I'm understanding that I'm able to carry it now. So if you're at a stage in your life where, like, try to appreciate every stage. Try to see the blessing and the opportunity in that stage, even when it's uncomfortable, because the most uncomfortable moments in my life, like even now, and it's hard to accept it, and it's hard to embrace it. So by no means am I telling you it's easy, because there are days when, I still don't want to get up out of bed, even with the knowledge and experience, even with the blessings that I've been given and the opportunities in my life. I still have a hard time accepting what's on the other side of that door, because it's the mystery, it's the not knowing, it's the leap of faith and not knowing where you're going to go and what you're going to do. But probably the greatest thing I've learned from all this, and I know it sounds contrite and cliche and just, if you're anything like me, I can understand why, you want to roll your eyes, but really trust in God. It really is just trusting. For years, I had to do things wrong. And a lot of life, I hustle and I make things happen for myself, for my family, and I mean, thank you. They leaned on me a lot, and I'm not saying I didn't lean on them. I'm not saying I didn't. It was hardcore. It was mad crazy in my life for many years with addiction. But having to hold all the balls, or not even really having to, just feeling like I had to, feeling like I like I not even else. I didn't get it right, or I didn't control it. It was, it wasn't going to happen. It was all on me. It had to be me. I had to get it done. And just the pressure of that it's exhausting after a while. And being able to trust God it's exhausting after a while. And being able to trust God, being able to just let go, not just of my past, because a lot of people, when you say let go, they think of, oh, well, I'm letting go of this person, or I'm letting go of my past, or I'm letting go of this place. But for me, letting go meant letting go of control, letting go of the idea of what I thought things should look like, the idea of what I thought the relationship should be. Even in my marriage, when I was trying to save it, and I was in love with the idea of what I thought marriage was supposed to look like, so much that I had forgotten that we were really just people, and we were really just trying to do our best to love our son and to love ourselves, and we just couldn't get that right. And to minus the idea that he did something wrong to me, or that he was just really trying in his own life, and maybe the best thing for us to do is go focus on that right now, instead of being angry or bitter or not believing in love, or even losing faith in the foundation of marriage itself. Just understanding that we were just two people trying really hard to do our best. And, maybe that just wasn't right, but that doesn't mean that he failed me or I failed him, or we just made some mistakes. And sometimes some mistakes they're not too much to forgive, but it's too much hurt to overcome without maybe space or time apart. So there's seasons, and God has you going through those seasons for a reason. Maybe they're uncomfortable, maybe they really freaking hurt, but try your best to not get mad at the person. Try your best to not focus on it like it's waste of time or a regret, but more like it's just God teaching you and growing you and giving you knowledge, knowledge that you wouldn't have had, knowledge I wouldn't have had this time 2 years ago or this time 10 years ago when I thought I was supposed to have all this stuff. Ouch. Because I wouldn't have known what to do with it then. I barely know what to do with it now, but because of his molding and because of those uncomfortable moments that he forced me to sit in, the moments when I didn't run away from, because that was my go-to. My go-to was to run. When things got rough, when times got difficult, even when I was a kid, like I would just run. I don't have to deal with this. I could go somewhere and chill. I'll go do something else. I'll go talk to somebody else. You know what I mean? But I think when he started making me really, when I sat down in this house, and this was the first place that I ever had, and I used to look at it as, oh, it's the only home I've ever known, and I still do to a certain extent, but now I look at it more as like, this is the place that grew me. This is the place that prepared me for the place that's going to be my forever home. Thank you for the rose. I appreciate you. But yeah, it's everything that you go through in life. Whew, I'm back home now. I got to sit down for a minute. I'll be in a second, baby. Love you. But yeah, everything is a lesson. And I think when he forced me to sit down, when he really forced me to look at my life and really forced me to step back and realize it wasn't the blessings that I was chasing, because I could have all that. I've never really been a millionaire. I don't have, I've never had like a billion cars, but I've had a pretty good life where I'm set up, and I've seen people with money, and I know, it wasn't about the blessings. It wasn't about the good times, because I've had all that. I've been on stage. I've performed. I've had praise flags. I've had people clapping for me, and I've done sermons, and, I've had a lot of gentlemen in my life that liked me, and everybody, compliment me and telling me how great I am and how proud they are. And it was all these accolades and all these titles, but that wasn't what I was searching for. What I was searching for was something deeper. I wanted to know a Jesus that changed me, that showed people not just that he can exalt them, not just that he can bless them, because let's be real, there are rich people in the world that are blessed beyond beyond my imagination, and they're miserable. They're unhappy, they're unhealthy, they're sick, they're lonely, they're tormented. So for me, it wasn't the blessings financially. It wasn't even though, yes, I am, duh. That is something that I want to do. I want to leave a legacy. I want generational wealth. I want to be able to, the most important thing that I do in life, no matter what my children think of me, is that, well, I do hope at the end of the day that God can change me on the inside, in my heart and in my mind, renew my mind and transform my heart, that I would be able to leave them somebody that they can respect at the end of the day. But most importantly, I want to leave them something that they can grow with, something that doesn't just disappear when I'm gone, something that they can continue to establish and invest in. I want them to invest in themselves, and I want to leave them something that does that. But it was more about what he did in me. Him sitting me down and making me be patient in those moments when I wanted to give up, in the moments when I wanted to scream, in the moments when my husband was being so mean to me and I would question God, and in the moments when I was so alone and my children left and I couldn't see my grandchildren, and all the arguments with my daughter, and it was the last 2 years. If you follow me, if you know, you know. But yeah, it was rough, and him sitting in me, and that made me face it. It made me face, and instead of saying, oh, well, they did this and she did that and she said that, I had to look at what I said and really look at how I could have done it different, how I could have said things different. And I'm by no means got everything figured out. I'm still, there are things that I'm struggling with, things that, I feel like I should have already learned by now. But that's the beauty about being with God. That's the beauty about his patience and his grace. And the more I document my life and the more I look back on Facebook memories and flashback Thursdays, and I see there's so many, even if the world don't validate you, because chances are they're not going to. Even the people that you think you impacted the most might even be the people that have the least respect for what you do or appreciation for what you've done. Here, baby. Come on. You my mugs. Come on, baby. That's my kitty. Go on in there, baby. You see my kitty? I love my baby. That's Mugwai. That's my baby. The other one, I got another cat and a dog, but they're my babies. But that one's mine. I love my kitty. But yeah, it's the way he changed my patience with people. The way he gave me the ability to, even in the last year, to listen more than I spoke. Or to stop waiting for people to talk. Or stop talking so I could say something. But actually really listen to the things that they were saying and then respond on what they were talking about. And the installments that he's given me with my son, I have so much admiration and reverence for the Lord. For me, it's more than just following commands or like, yes, he's blessed me. Yes, he got me off drugs. But for me, it's more that it's the person that he changed me on the inside. It's how he utterly wrecks me. But at the end of the day, when I fall to his feet, and when I stand back up, when I'm comforted, when I'm renewed, when I'm restored, it's when I learn how strong I am. It's just seeing things that he does. Like one night, me and my sister, we were going to get pizza for her kids and my baby boy, and they were back at the hotel with her oldest daughter, and she was watching them, and we were going to get pizza, and we got lost, and it was getting dark, and the pizza place was getting ready to close. And her GPS was telling us that it was another 6 minutes up the street. We knew that. There's no way that could be it, you know what I mean? In the area that we were in. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, God, come on. We got to get back home. We got to get back to our babies. Give us a sign. And, right beside us, I don't want to leave this part out because it's one of the most important parts, but we were talking right before then. It was getting dark, and me and my sister were getting a little older, so we couldn't see. We were having trouble seeing the signs of the streets and everything in front of us. And so, we were talking about how we couldn't see. And so right beside us was a giant truck, a semi-truck. And on the side of it, in giant orange and black letters, bold. As big, the whole side of the semi-truck said Little Caesars. This truck pulls into the parking lot right across the street from us, where the Little Caesars was. And maybe you don't know, maybe you don't have, but that's my relationship with God. That to me, those moments are more to me than any blessing, any car, it's the ability to see him beside me, working with me, moving through me, answering me, guiding me in those little steps. When I remember, and we found the Little Caesars Pizza because we saw that truck pull into the parking lot, and it was behind another building where we couldn't see. And it's those things, where God, I feel like I talk all the time on my Sunday sermons. And you can find me Indianapolis, Indiana, 2:30 to 4 on East New York Street, the Ness Christian Youth Center. I'm the main pastor there. Ministry. I don't really like to call myself a preacher or a pastor. I just am a testimony and a vessel being used for the Lord and what he's done in my life. And I remember being on the streets, and I remember there were so many times when I was walking the wrong way, or I would be lost and the light would flicker, just a little bit. And it would be those little things like that would lead me and encourage me, and he would let me know it's this way. Or I would get lost, or, I get ahead of myself and I ramble. So I'm trying to be as, slow down, because that's another thing he's been teaching me this last year because I get excited because I'm so enthusiastic about telling it, and I got to remember to slow down, but those are the things that God does with me. Those are the things that I'm so grateful for. That's why even in the uncomfortable moments, so even though we were lost that night and it wasn't like a part the sea or a giant check, it was just him going, hey, I got you. I'm right here. Giving me signs, helping me. He said you can't see. Here's giant bold letters. Here's where you're supposed to be going. Here's where you need to be. And we got the pizza and we got back before it got too dark. And we were able to feed the kids and we had a great night. And it was just little things like that. Little things like that that I can be a testimony of. And that's how God works in my life. And for me, that relationship is more important than, streets of gold and I tell him all the time, and I tell my church all the time, it's controversial that, because every Christian's like, oh, we get streets of gold and jewels and crowns. And I'm just like, what am I going to do with that? You know what I mean? I ain't never had gold in my life. I ain't never even held more than maybe, $500 in my hand. And that was to my rent and my bills or my kids. The idea of being able to help people, I remember when I first started coming to him about 5 years ago, because I always kind of knew God, he was always with me, and every time I would pray to him, I remember this one time I was in a trap house and everybody was messing with me. They were messing with my head. They wanted to cut me off. They didn't want to deal with me anymore. And, because it was a whole story, but my ex had most of and he was a dealer, and, they were all done with me and he was done with me. And so I just kept showing up, I was giving money. And, I remember they were messing with me real hard. And at the time, it was right before God was getting ready to save me and bless my whole life. But that's a whole nother story for another day. Stick around and you'll hear about it, I'm sure. God has been good to me, even though my life is not an example of an extraordinary life. He's been good to me. I almost want to cry every time I think about it and every time I tell people, because it really is. Even if you even knew my life right now in the mornings when I don't want to wake up, and I'm so sad about losing my 15-year-old marriage and the house that my son grew up in. And it may not be much. It's just a little 3-bedroom house on the east side of Indy. But for me, it's everything. It's his home. It's my home. But God is good, and he's moving me, and he's teaching me, and he's positioning me, and he's opened these doors for me. If you'd asked me 5 years ago, I thought I was going to be in the position to do weddings, and I was going to be standing up over 150 audience. Like, there's going to be 150 people there at this wedding. And, if you would have asked me that, or if you would have asked me, did I have 3 years under my belt where I was ministering to youth, children of the youth, to where they would get up and sing for me. Last Sunday, we had a church karaoke, and I was doing praise, and 3 of the kids that have been coming, they come and see me every Sunday. They support me, and it's a youth center for troubled children. And I started out there just being a staff member, and I connected with these kids, and they've been following me ever since. And these kids are abandoned. They're troubled youth. They're abandoned. Their fathers and mothers in prison. They're poverty children, so they don't just trust anybody, and they've grown close to me, and I've grown close to them. And I was doing a praise dance, and I got tired, and they got up and sung with me and started dancing with me, and a couple of them didn't even believe in God when I first started. I don't even think they, if they don't, they're not going to say nothing to me. They're going to support me, and that's the great thing about it. It's God shining a light and shining love. And I get to go back. I grew up about 2 blocks, when I first started my journey, right before I lost my first 2 kids, before I went out into drugs and alcohol real heavy. And it was right down the street from that youth center. So I'm being able to go back and touch hearts of little kids just like me in poverty homes. And my dad was, on drugs and a drunk all my life, and in heroin and dope and all that stuff. And I watched him die of stage 4 cancer. And I miss him every day. And so I get to relate with them. I get to relate with them what it feels like, to live in abandoned homes or broken families. And I get to go back and touch children's life like that. And it means the world to me that they get up with me. And several times in my sermons, they've gotten up, and I don't have I don't have a band, and I don't have a beautiful choir singer, so I just have them, and they'll get up and they'll use their hands and they'll use their feet and they'll stomp, and they'll say, "Oh, happy day," and that's when my Jesus washed, he washed my sins away. And he's beautiful to me. He's just beautiful. And so, I wanted to check in. I wanted to be some encouragement. I wanted to let y'all know I know I was going to try to post more, and I always say that, and I do, but, I'm struggling. I'm still, depression kicks my butt sometimes. And, I've been battling it ever since I was 6 years old, when I was put in my first placement at 6. And I battle with my weight. It's something that I struggle with all my life, but God is helping me with it, and He's also teaching me not to rely so much on vanity, but what's inside here, what's in your heart is what matters. And I wanted to be an encouragement to somebody. If you're at a stage in your life where things don't look, like they say, try to pay attention to how far you've come. And don't dwell there, because another thing I'm learning is that the former things that passed away, behold, He does anew. Things aren't supposed to stay the same. Your seasons are supposed to change. Are supposed to change. They are supposed to change. He does that so you don't sit complacent, so you don't forget the calling on your life, and because diamonds need pressure to shine. Amen. So I hope you're shining. I hope you're reaching your full potential. I hope that if you're in a struggling place, you cry out to the name of the Lord, and just know that He hears you, that there's nothing that's impossible with Him. And I may not be a testimony of extravagant things or cars or big houses, but I am a testimony of a God that changes a heart and changes a mind and renews and restores a soul, a lost and broken soul. I am a testimony of a God that walks with you and holds your hand and comforts you. You're funny. Hey, how y'all? But yeah, I wanted to get on here and give that little message, and it is 1:30 a.m. where I'm at. So I think I'm going to call it a night, and I'm going to jump off here. Thank you. I appreciate you. I do. I do not feel that right now because it is late and I've had a long day, but thank you very much. Thank you for the love. Thank you for your support. If you've watched me at all, I don't care if it was 5 minutes or 5 seconds. I appreciate you. And more than anything, I hope that good night, blessings, and peaceful sleep. I hope that the Lord, I hope that that God finds you where you're at. And I really hope that you draw near to Him and He will draw near to you. My heart belongs to one person, and unfortunately that is long past for me. And I will be with Jesus for the rest of my life. Before you go, I don't know, maybe you're a little late, but I already was sharing my own story. But tonight wasn't really about my testimony. I do have a lot. You can follow my YouTube channel that shows my testimony, my own personal testimony. A personal testimony about overcoming diversity. Share your own story. I'm not really sure what you mean by that. I was sharing my own story. Everything that I spoke on tonight was my life, and from my life. But it wasn't really about sharing my testimony tonight. But like I said, I do have my testimony up. You can follow my YouTube channel, Angela Starr, Starr, Star with a Gur. The Tiny Dim Star Ministries. You can find me on Instagram. You can follow me on Facebook. But other than that, I'm going to call it a night. I love you. Jesus loves you more. Have a blessed and beautiful night.